And what is my sewing machine doing? We're gonna have words later. Hi, I'm Alice, the Fabric Ninja. Let me say that again for anyone who needs to lip read. Hi, I'm Alice, the Fabric Ninja. And today we're talking about face masks. Holy cow, this video got too long. So I broke it up into two pieces. This is the video on sewing, batch sewing, and how to do it quickly. There's another video about the supplies. There's a tiny bit of repeat content at the very beginning just to lay things out, but after that, it's all new content. Happy sewing! I'm guessing this is not the first video you've watched. You're here watching this to find out why my video is going to be better, or what I can show you or teach you that's going to make this all easier for you. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I am going to teach you how to make these fast. I have been working to find the quickest and most efficient way for us, the seamstresses of the world, to make these face masks. And whether your hospital is using them to cover an N95 mask so that if any splatter occurs, they can wash this and can save that N95 mask for further use, or whether this mask is being used on its own. All of those are valid things, and we're here to help. So let me talk to you about the features of this mask so you can know right away what you're getting into and if this is the tutorial you want to watch. So I have elastic bands on the side of here, but you can also put fabric ties or any other type of tie on the edge. So both of these options are included in this information and the pattern. At the top, we have a moldable nose band. If your hospital is using these at over an N95 mask, they may not want these moldable nose bands, but people who are using them on their own, the moldable nose band is what makes sure that this gets a good and tight fit. Because if this is not tight to the face, air will just go around it. You can also make this mask accept an additional filter, a filter that you would take out when it washes and put in a new one or reuse it depending on what you have. You can make this have an opening at the bottom where the filter can go in and out. Additionally, you can just have a permanent filter inside that's sewn as part of it that gets washed every time your mask gets washed. So let's start from the beginning and talk about what fabric we need to use. Hospitals are requesting that masks are made of 100% cotton woven fabric. So that would be your classic quilter's cotton, I have fun print like I have here, or a sheet. But those sheets are perfect for making these masks. They are tightly woven, which will help filter things out. If you're making a mask for yourself and not for a hospital, there are certainly other options that you can use, particularly a t-shirt. All of your fabric needs to be pre-washed, like absolutely needs to be. Not you kind of think it might be a good idea. You got to pre-wash these things like that. Anytime you can, make production. So cut a bunch of these and then do all the ties. Cut a bunch of these, cut a bunch of these. You need to do one thing at a time so you're not constantly changing what you're doing. That'll make everything go much quicker. Okay, so I have my ties or elastics. I have my pile of metals. Now all we need is some fabric, right? I'm going to be using a rotary cutter and quilting rulers. If you don't have these supplies, there's nothing that you can't do with scissors, a marking pen. These work too. And you can even make yourself paper templates to make the marks go even quicker. This is a random big quantity of quilter's cotton. And it kind of seems unwieldy. There's all of this fabric and we need to cut it into smaller pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is start chunking it to make it easier to deal with. So I'm going to go to the beginning here where I have all this like weird shapes and stuff. I'm going to put one little snip across my end right here, and then I'm going to rip it. was once in a quilting class where we weren't allowed to use scissors, and the first time the instructor ripped the fabric, an older lady gasped. It was amazing. So now that I've ripped this fabric, this edge is completely straight. It's on grain even. So to get all the chunks that I need for masks, I can do with ripping. If you're using smaller amounts of fabric, you can certainly square them up with your quilt ruler or use a template on top of it, but efficiency, mass production, and bulk. So each one of these mask sections is going to be 14 inches. So I'm going to use my board on my table here, but you can use a cloth tape measure, you can use any type of ruler you have. Sorry if that sounded like a herd of elephants, that's my children. So you're going to measure out 14 inches. And you're going to put another little clip at the edge. If you're using sheets for this, this is also great because it can deal with those enormous sheets really quickly. Okay, one chunk. I'm going to keep going. Lay down, all the way over here, cut, rip. And you can do this for the entire length of fabric that you have. Just keep going, use all of it, make it into these long, long pieces that are 14 inches wide. Okay, now we have these 14-inch wide pieces that are whatever the width of your fabric was, whether it be, quote, standard 44, 45 inch, or 60, or an entire bed sheet, whatever you have, it's 14 inches. And now we're gonna fold it. So I'm gonna grab my ironing board. We want to put our pretty sides together. So here we go. I'm gonna fold it this way, because we are setting up how we are going to sew it. And we are giving ourselves the marks that we need. So I'm gonna iron right across the fold here. And if you have anything crazy going on downward, just give that a good press so you can leave the iron on it for a moment. Remember, cotton can take a lot of heat. So don't worry about using a hot iron. I pretty much iron everything on scorched earth. And just keep going all the way down to the end. If you do not have an iron, and you're like, oh, I can't do this again, I don't have an iron, you still can. Do you have a hair straightener or curling iron? It's all a heat tool. You can use that hair straightener or that curling iron right along the fold here. It's the same thing. All we're doing is giving our fabric a little press right along this fold. Okay, we have our piece. And we are now going to turn this into mask blanks. Every blank is going to be 9 inches wide. I've gone through a lot of patterns out there, and 8 inches or 9 inches is what everyone is doing. So 9 inches wide, we'll go with that. But one moment. If you plan on leaving an opening in the bottom, let me grab my mask over here. If you plan on leaving an opening along the bottom so that you can get a filter in and out, meaning one that you don't want to wash with the mask, you want to be able to leave an opening for a filter, you need to finish both of these bottom edges now. So I'm back from the serger and I have done the entire long raw edges with a serge. If you don't have a serger, just use the zigzag in your sewing machine. Again, this is only if you want to leave an opening for a filter pocket. That's because the opening will leave all of this stuff exposed on the inside and it will fray and make the mask fall apart. So you need to finish these edges. And now it's time to chunk it up into mask blanks. I am going to be doubling this over and cutting out 4 layers at a time. I'm going to be using my rotary cutter. If you don't have a rotary cutter, there's nothing wrong with using good old scissors, drawing a line, following it. That works great. If you're using a rotary cutter, a new blade might be in order. If your rotary cutter is not going to go through 4 layers, you can do several passes as long as you're careful. Or You can just cut through less layers, whatever works for you. When you use a rotary cutter, always close it when you're done, always, no matter what. Rotary cutters are very dangerous. Okay, so we're gonna chunk this. I'm gonna start by looking over here and seeing I have a bit of salvage. I'm just gonna clean up that edge to make my life easier. I'm also going to take a moment and line it up to the mat, not because I have to, but I want to move it the least times possible. And if I line it up to the mat now, I don't have to move it later. Or I might not have to move it later. So here we go. I am chunking through that last bit. Okay, we got our first cut down here. Now you can use your rulers in whatever way it works for you. If you have a cutting mat, you can line it up to your cutting mat. Do whatever makes sense for you. I am going to use my cutting mat because it's already lined up, and I'm going to count out my 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or you can do math. Math is also good. So I'm going to line it up there, open my rotary cutter, go through. Oh yeah, did not need a second time. This thing is sharp. Close it, push those aside. Now do the next chunk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or again, do math. Oh, just a quick little spot there. There we go. Okay. Out of your standard 45-inch fabric, 44 or 45, you can get 4 adult masks, and you'll have a small, tiny chunk left over. Okay, so we have these, and the next thing we're going to do is take one and flop it open. Take the next one, flop it open, and we're gonna line it up. So it's gonna be offset. The offset doesn't matter here. Wow, that's hard to see, those two navies on top of each other. But it's going to be offset from each other with the bottoms lined up. We're gonna do the markings for all the pieces at once, which is why we're lining it up this way. It means that we only have to do the measurements once. So here we go. We have 8 masks all lined up next to each other in this sort of fan fold offset method. And now we're going to mark all of them at the same time. This is dark fabric, so I need to use a marker that's going to show up. If your fabric is light enough color, I suggest that you use one of these washable pens. They're normally blue, and that's because these things are going to be washed. So this blue marker comes right out. So I'm going to need a bit of a long ruler here because I'm going across everything. So these are the instructions, and it literally has everything written out. So first one, 1 3/4. Next one, 1 inch. 1 inch across everything. Next is a 1/2 inch. This is going to be the space in between your pleats. Next is another inch. This is another pleat. 1/2 inch. Another space. And lastly, one more full inch, which is the last pleat. So we have all of those marks down on our fabric now. This one on the top here is already done because I marked across it all the way. So I'm going to fold it and throw it out of the way. And now we need to do the other side of all of these. So I'm going to take this and offset them the other direction. So pull one off the top. Pull one off the top. And I have marks here on this end already, which I can use to remind me of where everything goes. Okay, now you have all of these sides marked. By the way, I forgot to mention, if you're really good at eyeballing things, like you can put 3 pleats in without having them marked, just do that. They don't need to be exact. But if you have a hard time making those choices and eyeballing this as you go, that's why we're marking. Awesome. Now we have everything we need. go set your sewing machine up and check your tension and all that good stuff. Wind a couple bobbins because you're going to be sewing for a while and you don't want to stop. You want to have everything ready to go so you can just keep going and keep going and keep going. You can use any color thread you have. 100% polyester is fine. Cotton wrap polyester is fine. Cotton thread is fine. I suggest you put a new needle in your sewing machine. A size 12 or a size 14, either a sharp or a universal, will be your best bet to get you through all of this. Before I head to the sewing machine, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of how things are going to go together while everything is all flat and nice and you're not confused by the sewing machine moving. So here's the mask I'm going to use for the demo. If you are using a piece of filter that is going to live inside of it that doesn't come out, you're going to lay it right on top and you're going to sew with it like it's all one piece of fabric. Yes, you can also put it on the bottom and do the exact same thing. There's no difference here. When you get to the sewing machine, if your mask blank isn't already open in this big pile, you're going to flop it open and you're going to insert your first tie or elastic or whatever you have. Your first elastic is going to go right here at the top. Then you're going to fold it back down and you're going to start sewing. You sew all the way down to you're about an inch from the bottom. You stop. You open this up a little and you reach inside to grab the other end of your elastic. And so you'll have to reach all the way up to the top, but you'll feel it. You grab it, you pull it out into the seam allowance there. You keep sewing to the end. Then you stop your sewing machine, you grab the next one, you do the exact same thing and you start it right after. So you're not pulling this out of the sewing machine. You are what we call chain piecing. You're just going to keep going one after the other after the other. So you're going to do all of this side. And then you're going to switch to the other side and do all of the other sides. Then we are going to do the bottoms where we sew here, leave a gap. It can be up to a 4-inch gap, which is basically your hand, if you want to be able to take a filter in and out. But you can do a 2 or 3-inch gap to be able to actually pull everything through the hole. You don't need that 4-inch gap. It can be much smaller. So you're going to sew, leave a gap, sew down here. Then we're going to flip everything out of here. And then we'll insert the wire into the top. We will sew the pleats into the sides. And we will sew across the bottom if you're doing that. Okay, there's your overview. Let's get to the sewing machine and actually do this. I've got all my ties and elastic here, my metals here, and these ties still need to be finished on the end. So I'm just going to quickly fold, stick it under my sewing machine. And in this case, I think a zigzag is going to work great because it can help me get a bit more coverage. So quick zigzag, make sure to back stitch at the beginning and the end. And now I'm not taking it out of my machine. I'm just going on to the next one. Stick it under the end here, back stitch, forward, back stitch, next one. First one, so everything's all laid out for you already. Grab the first one. I'm going to do this type of elastic first. Lay it into your fold. Fold it down. Put it under the machine. You may need to wiggle it around if you didn't quite get it where you wanted it, or if you managed to not have a very well-marked fold, but it's right here at the top. If you can't see that elastic or tie, make sure you stick it out a little bit just so you make sure you can see it and know that it's there. You can use 1/4 of an inch. Whoop! I did not mean to do that as a zigzag. Let's do it as a straight stitch. You can use 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, you can use the edge of your foot, and if you're metric, just use a centimeter. It will all work. So back stitch at the beginning, check those layers, make sure they're together. Go all the way to the bottom until you're about 1 inch away. I'm going to set my needle down position because I have that ability on my sewing machine. You really don't have to. Now I'm going to reach inside I'm going to grab the other end of that elastic and I'm going to put it in here. It needs to be set at least a half an inch or 3/8 of an inch away from the bottom, because you have a 1/4 of an inch seam that's going to go along here, so that elastic needs to be out of the seam. So I got my elastic in here now. Make sure you're seeing it poke out, or you're absolutely sure that it's in that seam. So all the way down, back stitch at the end. Now I just pulled that out because I want to show you how everything looks on the inside, but I don't want you to pull it out. I want you to just go for the next one. So there we go. We have that elastic coming out here, and when the seam goes here in the bottom, the elastic will still hold itself, will not get sewn through really, it'll just be caught here on the edge. Okay, so let's imagine that I just got done with this one. So down here, back stitch, ready to go to the next, stop. Don't pull that out. Grab your next one. Lay it where the fold is. Fold it over. Shove it in the sewing machine. Back stitch forward, keep going. So I'm using a lot of varied different types of closures here. I'm going to suggest that you only do one kind in a batch. Otherwise, you're going to have to make sure that one side of the mask matches up to the other side of the mask, which, let's be honest, that's not something you want to do. That's one more thing you have to think about. The whole idea of this is you don't have to think about it. You just go. So now I have 3 of these that all have elastics in them, and I'm going to do the other side. We just did the one side. Now we flip. Next up, let's do the ties, just to make sure you understand how those work. So open it up, place the tie down, fold it over. Make sure all that tie, there we go. We get near the other end, we grab another one, and this time we have a whole nother one. We're not reaching inside to get the other half. We're laying a whole nother strap inside. And obviously we would keep chain sewing and going and going. Okay, so whatever type of tie or elastic that you're doing, it's all the same steps up to this point. You are putting something in all 4 corners, and you are chain sewing a million of them all down one side, then flipping it all, chain sewing a million down the other side. You want to do everything the same as possible, as long as you can, and that's what makes it go quick. So now we're going to do the bottom. If you have ties, you need to make sure all of these ties get dropped inside of the baggie. And then you're going to do the bottom. We can see that my edges didn't really line up here, but I can still feel where the edge of my tie is, so it's going to be fine. So I'm going to go here, back stitch at the top, then I'm going to go in just a little ways. Okay, so you go here, you do a back stitch, and now you need to leave an opening. This one I'm not setting up to have a filter in it, so all I need to do is have a couple of inches, and it doesn't need to be in the center or any of that other stuff. I just need a way to be able to get into it, to flip it. Okay, and then we're going to do the exact same thing, chain stitching. Okay, so what if you wanted to make a filter opening? Let me show you that one. It's really basically the same thing. Finish these edges, leave a bigger hole. That's how you get a filter in there. I don't know why I tried to make that more complicated than it was. Okay, so we gotta flip these right side out now. Okay, I have 3 that I'm using for this part of the demonstration. Obviously, you would have chain stitched a bunch of them. You don't wanna watch me sit here and continue to chain sew forever. That's not the point of this. It's like you would be. And you're going to do all the same type of tie or elastic on a whole row of them, so you don't have to worry about switching up what you're doing. But now you know how to do all the different types of elastics, so let's keep going. Each one of these has a hole in the bottom. What you're going to do is go to that hole, you're gonna cut this thread. Why? Because it's really easy to get yourself caught in it while you're doing the flipping. So just cut that thread. Okay, so you have your pieces. You're gonna reach in through that hole and you're going to grab the ties or the elastics or whatever, because they are gonna make it super easy to pull these out. Somebody right now is panicking that I haven't clipped my corners. Don't clip your corners. Clipping your corners makes them less strong. Right now, let's work with strength. I don't care if these corners have a little divot in them and are not perfectly square. Do not clip your corners. Okay, use those ties to pull everything out. And because those ties are near the corners, those of us who are a little bit anal retentive and like to have really pretty corners, we'll get to at least have some of them, because those ties right at the corners are going to pull the corners out for us. You can do a little bit of smoothing with your fingers as you like. You do not need to go iron these. And quite frankly, if the marks that you put on them earlier are in a pen that's going to disappear when you iron them, please don't iron them so you don't have to do all your marks again. And we're going to do this with all of our pieces. This is a great job for kids, by the way. So I'm going to take a moment and should have, as I was going to, automatically flip these all the same way so that you know exactly where they are and what's going to happen next. The next step is all of these metal pieces. Again, you may not be using these in your mask, but if you are, now is the time to put them in. To try the twist ties. Some hospitals are definitely suggesting twist ties. I'm going to twist these together just a bit. I don't know if that's what they want, but otherwise I'm going to have two pieces to have to chase around the inside of my mask, which sounds less than fun. So use some gravity to help you get things where you want them. Gravity should naturally just put them there with a little shake. If they're not going, make sure to use gravity and shake them around. So once you got them in, somewhere vaguely recognized as the center, doesn't really have to be that close, put that pin or that clip right under them so they don't move, and go on to the next one. So I've got 3 here that have their metal pieces all held right against this top edge. So we're ready to go back to the sewing machine. There's a couple of ways to secure these into place. My favorite is to do a largest zigzag across the metal piece that really holds it in place well. But there's a problem. If you hit the metal with your needle, there is a really good likelihood that it's going to break the needle. You just got to go into this knowing that. If you're like, whoa, I can't handle it, that's okay. What you're going to do instead of zigzagging over the metal part is you're going to do a straight stitch along the edge here. When you get near that metal, you're going to kind of veer up to the edge, and then you're going to come down and go around the metal, go back up to the edge, and keep straight stitching across the top. It'll make it a little spot to keep it in place. So I'm going to pull out my pin. I'm going to check my metal and move it all the way along the edge. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention this. You don't have to zigzag the whole length of it. You're still doing a top stitch. All you got to do is zigzag the center, and that will hold it into place for you. So pick a zigzag that you like. I would suggest using your hand wheel the first time just to check where your zigzag is going. And don't forget to back stitch at the beginning and the end. I'm done. It's kind of hard to chain sew this because it's in the middle, so you're just going to have to do these one at a time. So I've got this. It's in the center. The metal actually goes here to here, but this is going to hold it in place. We do one thing at a time, so we just go straight on to the next metal piece. Now we're going to do our top stitching along the top edge. I'm going to take a bit of a wide berth around this. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. Top of that one done. So you don't want to pull it out, you just want to move it to the end here and pop the next one in. The least amount of thread and moving is what you want to do. Okay, so this is the one with the twist ties. Yeah, it's the one with twist ties. Look at that. So smooth. They lay so nicely. Why can't they all be twist ties? They will be soon. So time for pleats. You're gonna lay this on top of your sewing machine on the side that has your marks on it. So I'm not gonna actually pin them when I do this, but I'm gonna pin one set so you can see how it goes. You can go up or you can go down. Either is completely fine. Whatever you do on one side though, they need to match on the other side. So if they all go towards the top on this side, they all need to go up towards the top on the other side so that the mask opens properly. Okay, if I was pinning them all in, this is what it would look like. I took the 1-inch lines and I put them on top of each other. Then there's a 1/2 inch here, that's the break between the two. Then there's another 1-inch line. They go on top of each other. The 1/2 inch break is where the pin is sitting right now, and here's the last 1 inch. And it goes right on top of each other. If you feel better pinning or clipping or whatever you need to do, that's how you do it. I've already pinned it, so I might as well sew it, but I'm not going to be pinning any of them after this. So we start out, we do our back stitch, we keep sewing. Ideally, you want to take your pins out before you get on top of them. These pleats can be kind of thick. It's okay to help your machine a little bit if it's fighting with the pins or the pleats. Sorry, you can just help it along by pulling at the back just slightly, but it shouldn't need much help. The other thing that can help if you are struggling is to make this seam allowance here a little bit deeper. So take it out to one of the marks on your bed here. It doesn't really matter. So then you grab the next one. Make sure at the end here you do that back stitch. Keep going. Grab the next mask. One of the sides will have the marks. So you just take it in your hands, fold it up. Start at the top here, back stitch, forward, and basically when you hit the beginning of that pleat, the first stitch into that pleat, you need to grab the next pleat because it's going to start heading underneath the presser foot. So once it gets to the beginning of that pleat, I'm just rocking that in my fingers to help it lay flat. Go to the next pleat. Here we go. And we're at the bottom. So now we got to do the other side. I'm going to leave these all attached and just drop over here. Now remember, they all have to go the same direction. So you need to go upward this time. They do need to be roughly lined up. So if you did them by hand on this side, just take a glance over there and see what they look like. Starting at the bottom. Well, there we go. You get a pull, all the pleats kind of line up with each other. That's a winner. So I have 3 masks here, and we have our last part, which is the bottoms. This is one that's being closed on the bottom because I have a much smaller hole. So I'm going to just take a moment and make sure that the bottom is vaguely smooth. There was a little bump there, so I wanted to check it out. But I just kind of pull it, and any of this stuff that's sticking out crazy, I run my finger inside, give it a little pull, everything's holding still. So stick it under here, back stitch. If I pull a little tension on it, run my finger inside if it's being frisky, or roll it in my hand if I can't quite get it. And I'm going to sew along the edge. One thing you need to really watch here is you have to sew closer than the seam allowance because you have to catch this stuff. So if I sew up here, this can still flop open because I'm not catching any of it. So you need to sew a 1/4 inch or even closer to this edge to make sure that you catch everything. And our last one, we're leaving open. You can literally just leave this open. I know it's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but you can just literally leave it open. People are going to be sticking stuff in and out of here. What you can do is you can hold the seam allowance down here. You can do a little back stitch, hold it there, and sew to the other end of that seam allowance. And although you can technically figure out how to go around the corner there, it's complicated and not worth it in my opinion. So I'm going to trim these threads and then I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to roll things and rock things so this edge gets up here. Drop it under the sewing machine. Back stitch and go along here. Well, there we go. During this video, we made 3 masks and we started a bunch more, which I will be getting to and sending off to people who need them. Let's talk about the very last steps here. 1, take each mask and check to make sure that the pleats are going in the same direction. They're all going up on both sides, they're all going down on both sides. All you need is each mask to be headed in the same direction on both sides. Give your pleats a quick tug. If things make pleats, you're golden. Go around each of your masks and check for stray threads. We want these to be nice and ready for the people who are getting them. So just take an opportunity to cut any stray threads that might bug people. And it also means that they aren't going to be tempted to pull them instead of cut them, which could cause something to unravel, which we don't want, certainly. So you have checked the pleats, you've checked for threads. Now you need to take all of your things and throw them in the washing machine and the dryer. Why? Well, 1, you've proven that they can survive. If any of these fall apart your first wash, yeah, you definitely don't need to go to a health professional. They are not going to survive. But they survive first wash and dry. You know you did a good job. Stick them in a clean plastic bag all together and take them to wherever your drop-off is or mail them to the next person so that you know that these are clean and dry and ready for somebody to use. The hospitals have said that they are going to take the donations and they're going to wash them first. Totally. But what if things change and they need masks immediately? Will they just use them without washing them? Do you have a cat in your house and you didn't wash them and now the person has cat hair on their face and it might make them sneeze or any of that sort of stuff? So make sure they're clean when you send them off. Look in the description of this video. It has so much information, seriously, so much. It talks about filters, all the different types there are, making sure you can actually breathe through them. That's really, really, really important. This is a filter already. This is added filter, but this is already a filter. If you don't have a place to donate these, again, look in the description box. I can help you find a place to donate them. I can help you with more information regarding any questions that you have. The pattern, the measurements are all in the description. You can go to my website and download, I think it's 4 pages now, literally step by step. Every single thing is here. You don't have to watch the video as you go along. You don't have to try to remember what I said. Get the instructions out next to you, go along them step by step. This project is totally possible for a beginner. You can do this and you can help the effort. Thank you for sewing with me. I'm Alice the Fabric Ninja, and get your mask on. My needle just fell out. What am I doing tonight? What is going on? I need more wine.